Sweatthany Cartano here, the internet's sweatiest Christian music nerd. Before we hop into the review, just want to say there's going to be some stuff down in the description if you want to know how the channel works and all that good stuff. Also want to say this album is actually a request by the Golden L. The Golden L said, "Can you do a Weezer album?" And I said, yes. So we're going to be talking about the album Pacific Daydream by Weezer. Pacific Daydream is Weezer's 16th studio album. I don't even know. Is it their 16th? Maybe it's like their 10th, maybe their 9th. They have done so many albums. They've been active ever since the 90s, and they have just continued to consistently drop albums. And I don't know what album this is for them. I don't know. It's one of many. It's their third most recent album. Weezer's just a pretty prolific band, pretty legendary band. This album has 10 songs on it. It's only about 34 minutes long. This is not a very long album. In terms of commercial success, it did have the song Happy Hour, which was, sort of a hit. And then it had Feels Like Summer, which was actually a pretty big hit for Weezer and got plenty of airplay on alternative radio. I think the song has faded pretty much since then, but it was a pretty significant hit for Weezer of their recent hits. This album has very, very modern production, especially on the song Feels Like Summer and Happy Hour. You're going to see a lot of electronic polish, a lot of electronic computer polish, a lot of computer-generated sounds, and just not mostly electronic music, but definitely computer-assisted, computer-perfected, computer-polished music for basically this whole album. The song that sort of sounds like a throwback with some more acoustic sounding music, some more real sounding instrumentation, is QB Blitz, but that's basically the only song on the album. The others are either very upbeat or they're mid-tempo, and they all have this tons of electronic modern production. The lyrics are about normal for Weezer. Plenty of very weird lines and just kind of quirkiness. This album just exudes quirkiness on most of these songs. Like on the song Happy Hour, where it references, one of the lines is, "She's crushing me like a 20-ton weight, like in Monty Python." That's such a specific reference to something. To Life of Brian, I think it's what it's a reference to. And you have all kinds of lines on this album. I didn't write any of them down specifically. I probably should have done that. But this album, full of quirky lines, full of quirky lyrics. The vocals, I need to talk about the vocals, because Weezer has that voice, that kind of just weird, kind of it sounds like a geek or a nerd, like the weirdo kind of guy, like the not popular kid with the weird voice. And that is Weezer. That is what Rivers Cuomo sounds like, and that's what he goes for on this album. These guys have the weird singing and the weird lyrics to boot. Anyway, let's just hop into the review. Pacific Daydream, man. This album was absolutely hated by critics. Most critics hated this album's guts, because I think the main reason for that is because Weezer is such a long-running band, and they've been doing one thing for so long, which was this guitar, their alternative rock band with real music, with real guitar and real drums, and they've just been doing that for, years and years. Lots of hit songs, millions of fans. And then they released this album, which has all this electronic production and all this computer polish, and it just sounds so modern and so hip and so radio ready with the music. And when basically any band does that, people are apprehensive about it. If any band with tons of fans, tons of albums beforehand, that's been around for a long time, lots of hits, changes up their style to something that the fans aren't used to, a lot of fans are going to be antagonistic. A lot of critics are going to be antagonistic. And that is the case for this album. With that being said, I really do not have a huge problem with a band changing their style. With a band changing from, all real, raw instrumentation to computer polish and computer assisted music and very modern sounding radio ready music. I don't have a problem with that It just needs to sound good. It just needs to work. And what I think about this album is that some of it really works and some of it really doesn't. Before I hop into the music, I just want to say the vocals and the lyrics are a nice touch on this album. For example, let's say this was just any pop album. Like it was a Taylor Swift album. It was a One Direction album. It was any pop artist. It's a 5 Seconds of Summer album. Weezer has, even if it was just like a pop album, and a lot of people just call this a pop album. I would call it an alternative pop album or alternative rock album. Most people would say this is like, pop. A lot of people would call this a pop album. I would say what makes this different and better than other pop music, one positive factor about this, is the vocals and the lyrics. The lyrics are quirky, they're kind of funny, they're kind of weird, and the vocals are kind of quirky, they're kind of funny, they're kind of weird, and that just adds another layer of charm. It adds another layer to this album, another thing to make it interesting, another thing to make it original and stand out. And just wanted to mention that, because that's definitely working in Weezer's favor on this album, and all their albums, I would say. I think some songs in this album actually sound pretty good. Mexican Fender is a jam. I think the best song on this album is Beach Boys. The lyrics are about loving the Beach Boys, and they're just so full of passion. Like the singing is it's something you would totally get behind and sing along with. And the music and the chorus, and it all just works. It is such an effective song. I think Feels Like Summer is pretty good. It sounds cool. The lyrics are kind of dumb, I would say, kind of dumb, but not great, not a lot of depth or anything, or cleverness or whatever, but it's a cool sounding song. Happy Hour is another one of my favorites from this album. It sounds really good. It's just really fun, enjoyable pop rock song. But then some of the songs on this album, basically most of the other songs on this album don't sound great. QB Blitz is a little bit boring. I know some people like this more because, once more, it's the most traditional sounding song on this album, most traditional Weezer sounding song on this album. And some people like it for that, but for me it's a little bit boring. The lyrics are kind of quirky, kind of fun, but the music doesn't work that great. I think Get Right, La Mancha Screwjob, and Any Friend of Diane's all fail for their own reasons. Get Right just sounds kind of awkward. It just doesn't sound great. Screwjob starts off with promising music, but quickly becomes not great. And then Any Friend of Diane's is fun maybe the first 4 or 5 times. After that, it gets so annoying because it is the most repetitive song ever. And it's so crazy catchy that it will just end up driving you crazy. I would recommend not listening to this song because it could get stuck in your head and you'll be so mad at the song for getting stuck in your head because it's so annoying. Oh, that song is so annoying. And then I would say the one song I didn't really talk about was Sweet Mary. Sweet Mary is not a bad song. It is a kind of more heartfelt song. It's kind of, a little bit slower, kind of mid-tempo to slow. And it actually sounds pretty good, and it has heart behind it, and it has some good stuff. So it's a pretty good song. The other song I didn't mention on this thing is Weekend Woman, which is a really nice, pretty chorus, a nice, enjoyable chorus. The rest of the song is not that great. The lyrics aren't that great, but good chorus. Has that going for it. This album is only 10 tracks long. It's only 34 minutes long. This album just feels really short. You get through it, and then you're still listening, and you get through it again, and you get through it again, and you're like, wait a second, I listened to the same album 3 times, because it's that short. And you're skipping some of the songs that don't sound great. And for that reason, I mean, when an album that's only 10 songs long, when about, a fourth or a third of the songs don't sound great or don't sound that good at all and you skip them, the album isn't really a hit. It's not really a great album. If a third of the songs on an album, or even a fourth of the songs on an album, aren't great, then it's not a great album. And I just think a lot of these songs just flat out fail. And the failures on this album are the reason for the score I'm going to give. Even though I really do like some of the songs in this album, I love Beach Boys, I love Happy Hour, Feels Like Summer sounds cool, Sweet Mary is pretty good. There are good songs on this album. There are some really not good songs on this album. I'm going to give this album a 3.25 out of 5. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I'm ready for this thing to be over. Let's get this over with. Thank you for watching the video. I'm tired, I'm hot, and I'm sweaty. Please be over. What do you think of Weezer? What do you think of this album? Thank you for watching.